A man barges into a room, chest high, voice higher. He thinks volume is voltage, more sound, more power. People notice, sure, but notice is not respect. Attention is not authority. And intimidation? It's a coupon, redeemable once, at a steep long-term cost. Machiavelli didn't admire peacocks. He respected princes who could move a city with a whisper. He wrote about the lion and the fox, not noise and muscle, but timing and disguise. The lion terrifies. The fox survives. Real power isn't a roar. It's your ability to choose when you need the roar at all. Here's the uncomfortable truth. The need to look strong is often the evidence that you aren't. The moment you must prove dominance to strangers, you've handed them your controls. They can yank your emotions like a rope and you'll dance on command. That's not power. That's being programmable. Let's tear down the myth of the tough guy, because it's not just wrong, it's strategically suicidal. The Machiavellian lens you were never taught. People quote Machiavelli like they quote gym lore. Loud confidence, rule by fear, crush the weak. But Machiavelli's fear wasn't about tantrums. It was about consequences. The kind that come from competence, not from shouting. He also said the best fortress is the affection of the people, and he warned that everyone sees what you appear to be, while very few get to touch the reality underneath. Translation: your image is a tool, not a home. If you live inside your performance, you become hostage to it. So, what's the performance of the tough guy? Escalation. Every disagreement is a war. Every glance is a challenge. Every room is an arena to dominate. The problem? You ignite fuses you didn't check. You don't know who's watching. HR, a lawyer, a camera. You don't know the leverage you're up against. Quiet competence, quiet connections, quiet evidence. The loudest person is often the easiest person to counter because he's predictable. Why loud does not equal strong, the human software. Human status runs on two operating systems. One is dominance, threat, force, the demand for deference. The other is prestige. Deference freely granted because you're useful, skilled, and reliable. In modern systems, teams, companies, institutions, prestige compounds while dominance decays. People will endure dominance when there's chaos or threat, but the second the environment normalizes, they choose competence they can trust. Think about the person everyone listens to, even when they speak softly. The room tilts toward them because their track record tilts toward results. They don't win arguments. They resolve problems. They don't need deference. They have pull, because they are the kind of person others want to be near when things matter. That's the core misread of the tough guy act. It confuses arousal with authority. It wins flashes of attention and loses months of opportunity. It can generate a short-term fear that looks like control, but is really just compliance under surveillance. And surveillance breeds resentment. Resentment breeds quiet coalitions. Quiet coalitions move mountains. Quietly. The hidden bill you pay for aggression. Let's follow the receipts. You escalate in the office. People nod in the moment and copy your boss on the email later. You dominate a meeting. Someone documents it. You win the debate. Someone declines to staff your project. You put someone in their place. A client decides you're risky. And all of this gets recorded in the place that decides real power: reputation. Reputation isn't what people say to your face. It's the silent consensus about what happens when they trust you with something that matters. A powerful reputation doesn't come from performance theater. It comes from performance. From showing up calm when others are hot. From solving without spectacle. From making other people better by how you operate near them. Aggression burns that capital. People do what you say when you're watching and stop once you leave. They comply but don't commit. They deliver the minimum. They never tell you the truth early enough to fix it, because truth becomes dangerous around someone who punishes it. And let's not pretend the world is analog anymore. Cameras, screenshots, shared drives. Every hot take can become a cold exhibit. Every outburst is a file name. You're not just fighting a person, you're fighting a system that archives. The tough guy treats every day like a one-round fight. Real life is a league. Leagues are won by consistency, not knockouts. The visibility trap, when attention turns to targeting. There's a paradox you have to learn. The more you chase being seen as powerful, the more visible you make yourself. Habits, tells, triggers, patterns. Visibility creates vulnerability. Once people can model you, they can manipulate you. The bar guy who needs to look dominant gets baited into the one scenario he can't control. The office bully becomes an HR case study because the pattern is so obvious that documentation writes itself. And here's the cognitive twist. People dramatically overestimate how much others notice them. That's why they overperform, overcorrect, over-escalate. They think the whole room is watching their every micro-move, when in reality, most people are wrapped in their own problems. The fixation on being seen turns you into a caricature, a loud signal others learn to tune out or weaponize. Power without perspective is just force with a timer. Status tends to shrink perspective. When you feel above, you stop seeing around. You misread intent, you misjudge reactions, and you miss exits. That's why the tough guy always didn't see it coming. He turned his own perception into a bunker. He traded curiosity for certainty, then aimed certainty like a blunt instrument. But leaders, the ones who last, expand perspective under pressure. They watch first. They choose timing. They modulate force. A firm boundary here, a generous assumption there. They understand something the tough guy never does. Discipline beats dominance because it outperforms it over time. The Stoic countermove. Control the controllable, especially you. You want to feel powerful? Start with the only battlefield you truly command, your responses. Marcus. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Epictetus. The one who angers you controls you. Seneca. The greatest empire is to rule oneself. These aren't philosophical ornaments, they're tactical doctrine. The toughest person in the room is the one who can choose. The angry man has one move, louder. The disciplined man has 10. He can select the venue, the tempo, the witness, the record. He can decide whether to turn a moment into a lesson, a pivot, or a precedent. That's power you can use daily. Be underestimated on purpose. There is a kind of fear you want, not fear of your temper, fear of your consequences, not fear of your moods, fear of your competence. That kind of fear doesn't repel allies, it attracts them. People want to work with someone whose quiet, "I've got it," actually means it gets got. How do you build that? By making underestimation your armor. Don't broadcast your maximum. Hold back the part that makes you unpredictable. Show enough for trust and momentum. Keep the reserve that lets you surprise when it counts. The goal is not to be the most visible, it is to be the most effective. Effective people can afford silence. Performers can't. The quiet power system. 5 pillars. 1. Calm the body first. You can't choose cleanly with a flooded nervous system. Breathe, ground, drop your shoulders. If you wouldn't send it as an email, don't send it with your face. 2. Control your signals. Your micro-reactions are tells. Default to neutral. Speak slower when challenged. Ask one question before you make one point. That single question buys you 3 things: information, time, and the appearance of control, because it is control. 3. Run a trust ledger. Every interaction either deposits or withdraws. Deposits: reliability, clarity, follow-through, credit sharing. Withdrawals: heat, sarcasm, cornering people in public. Become the person whose name means safe hands. 4. Build leverage that doesn't need permission. Skills, relationships, information, systems. If someone tried to block you, could you still deliver? Quiet leverage is what makes no negotiable. 5. Escalate as a last resort, and then only once. When you go heavy, do it on home turf, with witnesses who matter, with receipts. Prepare as if you'll have to defend it 2 years from now, because you might. The Conflict Playbook. For real life, not Instagram. De-escalate early. Let's get specific on the outcome we both want. Specificity shrinks emotion. Choose the arena. Email for clarity. Call for tone. Meeting for alignment. Don't fight where you can't win. Document without drama. Time, date, facts, agreements. Calm language is more lethal than a hot paragraph. Use silence strategically. When a provocateur wants a reaction, delay. Quiet forces them to fill space, often with information. Escalate once. Well, if you must, do it with structure. Issue, impact, expectation, deadline. Then stop talking and let the standard work. 3 fast vignettes. Gym. Loud lifter blocks equipment, starts puffing. You step in. Number. You step aside and have a word with the coach. What's the best time to get a clean 45-minute block on here? I'm tracking numbers. Next session. The coach waves you in, spots you for the top set. Quiet 1. No scene. Access upgraded. Office. The meeting turns into a dominance theater. You take notes. After, you email stakeholders. Summarizing decisions. Open items. Owners. Dates. People start replying to you, not the peacock. 3 weeks later, your list became the plan. Your plan became the deliverable, and the loudest guy is asking you for status. Bar. Someone bumps you hard and stares for the performance. You nod once, turn your shoulders, and step to the bartender. Can you tab me out? And let your security know corner table might boil, you exit. 10 minutes later, 2 bouncers walk the tough guy out. The strongest move was choosing not to play. From force to influence. Why trust is the currency. In any real system, teams, companies, communities, power flows to those who can be trusted with it. Not those who demand it, not those who scare it out of people. Trust is the quiet verdict people render after watching you for a while. If I stake my reputation to this person, will it come back with interest or on fire? Trust grows on predictability and competence. You do what you said, when you said, at the level you implied. You tell bad news early. You ask for help before the deadline, not after. You don't hoard credit. You protect other people's dignity in public. You disagree directly and repair quickly. You are the opposite of the tough guy because you are easier to work with and more dangerous to oppose. Why dangerous? Because people will show up for you. They'll whisper warnings into your ear because you've been good to them. They'll lend you their leverage because you won't scorch them with it. That's not intimidation. That's influence. And it scales. Protocol. Replacing the tough guy act with unshakable credibility. 30 days. Week 1. Signal discipline. For 7 days, answer provocations with one curious question. Slow your speech by 10%. End meetings with, "What did we decide and who owns what?" Keep a private log of outcomes. You will be stunned how much this changes rooms. Week 2. Receipt machine. Any agreement, summarize it that day. Any risk, flag it with options. Any favor, log it, and pay it forward within a week. You're training your world to expect your follow-through. Week 3. Reputation deposits. Find 3 people whose work touches yours and remove friction for them. Template, intro, resource, calendar block. Quietly. Don't announce it. Let word of mouth do the work. Week 4. Leverage build. Ship one meaningful improvement that doesn't need permission. A dashboard, a checklist, a tiny tool, a cleaned dataset, a repeatable process. Then share it widely with a one-line value statement. Watch how doors open. At the end of 30 days, you'll have data. Emails, artifacts, co-signed wins. That's power. It's not loud, but it's real. What to do when someone comes at you loud. Don't mirror. Keep your voice under 70% volume. Lower tempo first, then tone. Name the frame. Let's stick to the decision we're making. Now the fight has a fence. Split the problem. We seem to have 2 issues: feeling heard and next steps. Which first? You just moved from emotions to sequencing. Offer a standard. Let's use the policy/contract/previous agreement. Standards depersonalize and deheat. Set a re-engagement. If it's too hot, I'm stepping away and we'll reconvene at 3 with notes. Leaving is not losing. It's refusing to donate cognition to a fire. The irony that crowns quiet power. The people who stop trying to look tough become the ones others are most careful around. Not because you're scary, but because you are effective. You don't flinch at pressure. You transmute it. You won't humiliate them in public. You'll out-execute them in private. You won't argue about the scoreboard. You'll build one and win on it. That's terrifying. To the right people. And yet to the people you actually want. Builders, operators, thoughtful leaders, that same posture is magnetic. They can breathe around you. They can bet on you. They understand that your quiet is not absence, it's accuracy. When you speak, it's because you have something to add, not something to prove. The question that ends the performance. So maybe the question is not, how can I look stronger? The better question is, how can I become more useful? Useful to the mission, useful to the team, useful to the truth. Because usefulness is durable. It doesn't need applause to function. It compounds by doing. When you stop performing strength and start building it, everything changes. Your calendar gets quieter. Your impact gets louder. The rooms you enter feel different because you brought gravity, not sparks. The people who used to bait you stop trying because you don't give them the thing they feed on, your reactivity. The invitations shift from spectacle to strategy. The seats get closer to the decisions. And the tough guy act? It turns out it wasn't power at all. It was noise, loud, draining, and easy to exploit. Real power is the confidence to be authentic, the strength to be restrained, and the wisdom to be selective. As Machiavelli would remind you, everyone will see what you appear to be. Only a few will feel what you are. Build yourself so that when they do, it holds up. Don't announce this shift. Demonstrate it. In the next hour, choose one move that changes the ground and says nothing about you, but proves everything. Send the summary. Make the introduction. Draft the plan. Hold the line. Walk away. One quiet act, done well, is the first brick of a fortress. Louder men will never notice until it's too late.